Hi guys, and welcome to this video. I am super pumped today, and that could partly be attributed to the package that I received in my mail, because we did receive the Salt New York order, which I did order about 20 days ago. So it was expected, but because I'm in Canada, stuff doesn't really come very easily through customs, and the regular delivery times don't really make it easy for me to review new stuff. Nevertheless, this has not been a new launch, and it has been doing the rounds for some time now, which is why I was excited to get my hands on it. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I am happy to have you tuned in here, and if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and join the Tashian family of love and beauty. Coming back to the brand that I am testing today, it goes by the name of Salt New York, and it was started by a YouTuber slash makeup artist and a company that actually boasts of being zero waste, inclusive, cruelty-free, vegan. So it almost checks all these boxes that I have in my list, and hence I am testing it out today. So let me quickly jump into what I ordered last month. First and foremost, let me mention that the packaging was actually very minimal, and each of these tints were packed well in their own paper sleeves, which is very eco-friendly and definitely sustainable. So I got myself 4 lip and cheek tints, 2 of which are from the Spring Duo, and the shades are Tangerine and Lilac. Now the next 2 are shades of Cream Tint Pro for lip and cheek, and that is Cranberry and Spice. Apart from this, I also got 3 shades of sculpting bronzers: the Bronze Light, the Bronze Light Medium, and the Bronze Medium. Last but not the least is this Crème highlighter shade that I got, and its name is Radiant, which is defined as this warm tan highlight. That's all that I got for the Cream Tint Pros. And to keep all the tints managed well, I ordered the French Grey palette that I have right here. Now let's start by looking into the palette here, because it is kind of a big deal. As I ordered it, I was not very happy with the cost because it does retail for $35, completely ignoring the fact that I bought it in a 50% sale, so I got it for $17.5. But for the full price, I wasn't very excited for this. But, and there's always a but, when I received this order, I realized and I was pleasantly surprised with the quality and how durable it is. It does feel bulky, so if you can fit all your tints in, and if you can fit all your brushes in that you need for these tints, it should be efficient to be a travel palette. Now if you look at the magnets here, they are very strong and they do not feel cheap at all. The outside is vegan leather, so that's great because it is eco-friendly and sustainable. And the inside has an enormously large mirror. Let me just show you the mirror, and if you can see me there. So that's the mirror, and it's great because it's easier to use a bigger mirror, especially while you're traveling and you need it for all these blushes, highlighters, bronzers that you are going to be trying out. I did buy myself 8 of these tints, and that's probably because this palette holds 8, so I decided why not just fill it up, right? Now even though I did fill it up, you can see that it doesn't necessarily sit very tight or snug. So you have these little spaces in between, which would probably make an OCD person very angry, and I can see why, but you can always add a few brushes in the middle, and that will really make it easier to carry the brushes along with the tints, right? Now because I apply my cream products with fingers or even a blender, I could add a little mini blender, something like this, in these sides or this inner section, but I think I'll just carry it separately because I don't want it to be bouncing around in my palette while I'm traveling. Now enough about the palette. I really need to dip my fingers into these cream shades. So let's just start with sculpting, and I'm gonna swatch these on my arm first so we can see what one swipe of that pigment really looks like, but also how they swatch, how the texture is, what's the color payout, and if it really bleeds, because that's something that I'm concerned about, as they have been sold on the premise that they are super creamy. So let's check that out. And let's start with the swatches here. So I have my hand here and I'm going to swatch. First is going to be Spice, and let's see how one swipe does. Oh my god, I truly love how soft and smooth these shades are. They're very easy to apply, and I am assuming it's very buildable, but let's check that out with Cranberry. So the first was Spice and the second is Cranberry. Beautiful shades. Definitely I like Cranberry a lot, but I think Spice is something that I normally gravitate towards. Let's try out the Spring Duo now, which was Lilac shade, and it's a beautiful plum shade, and it doesn't even go on blotchy. Let's reapply Lilac and see if I can build that up. Oh, definitely I can build that up and build it up to a nice shade that I can easily move around while I'm applying it. Next is going to be something very strong, at least for me. I do not try orange blushes, but Tangerine is something very interesting and I definitely had to try it. So next is Tangerine, and if you notice, it's a nice orange, very citrusy shade, and definitely something that I could try on, especially on my lips. So we're gonna test that out pretty soon. So let's move into the Sculpt and Bronze shades, and the first one there is going to be on this side of my hand because I might just color both my hands, right? The first one in the Sculpt and Bronze is going to be Bronze Light, and that is one swipe here. Okay, that doesn't show up on my skin tone, and that may also be because I am very I'm almost an olive skin tone, so it may just be my own skin tone, which is great because the only reason I bought the Bronze Light is to be able to use it as a concealer or as a spot application, so that would definitely be helpful, but we'll move on to that later on in the video. Next is going to be Bronze Light Medium, and that's going to be right underneath that and definitely shows up. Thankfully, I was wondering if there's only going to be one shade that does really show up, and thankfully the Bronze Light Medium shows up on my skin. So a nice bronzy shade, definitely not in the warm tones, but more on the cooler tones, and I do not normally use those for bronzing, but it's a great shade for contouring. Now the third shade that I have here in the Bronze Sculpt palette is the Bronze Medium, which is something that I'm absolutely falling in love with. Okay, so this is very easy to use, and they're not as glossy as the blush shades, but more stronger in pigment, thicker, and almost balmy for the Sculpt and Bronze shades. So I'm definitely happy with all three of those. I'm not so sure about how well I will be able to use the Bronze Light for my highlighting or just concealing, but we'll see that very soon, like I was mentioning. So let's just look into the next shade that I have here, which is the 8th shade, and that's not a Sculpt and Bronze shade, and it's not even a blush. It is a highlighter shade. It's called Warm Tan, and I'm hoping it can really tan and show up that shine. Okay, so that's very light on my skin tone. I don't know if you can really see it. Let's just reapply it and see if that can give us a better shade, but not really. So I know for a fact that some of these shades are, because they're so glossy, it's difficult to show them on your arm and it's best to apply it on your face and see the actual application, because that's what they're meant for. Okay, so after these swatches that we've done of all the tints that I currently own, here are my initial thoughts. The shades are pretty, very light and balmy, which is good because the lip and cheek tints are eventually going to be ending up on my lips. Thankfully so, at least on my arm swatches, these do not feel creasy or spotty, and as you can see, they're very easy to move around, so that's great. For now, I'm liking the texture, I'm liking the wearability, because it does seem to be easy to work with, and especially if you're looking for a minimal look, that would probably be what this palette was developed for. Now, as I was mentioning in my swatches, I did invest in the bronze light shade only to be able to use it as a spot foundation or a concealer, because I am an olive skin tone girl and that could probably help match my actual skin tone, and as we saw in the swatch, it wasn't really showing up on my arm. So now I am going to test that theory right now and see if it can help with a spot on my skin. Now I'm hoping you guys can see I have this crazy blemish on my face, and I'm gonna try and hide that with the bronze light and see if it really works with my skin. I am very happy that the shade is absolutely my skin tone. It will definitely help with blemishes, and as you can see, I'm not sure whether it really shows up on camera, but it did start to lighten that blemish out, which is great because I'm gonna overdo it like I always do, and that's perfect. I mean, I'm actually enjoying it. It's very creamy to use, so I can definitely use it as a travel friendly palette. Now don't get me wrong, it is not a concealer, but a good tint to use as a cover up on the go. Now that the concealer is okie dokie, let's move on to the bronzers for my skin, and I'm going to jump into the two shades here on the top, which is the bronze light medium and the bronze medium. So let's just use a beauty blender here. So as you can see, it definitely is helping bronzing it up and probably bring in a little bit definition on this side of my face. I'm going to move on to a bigger blender because I'm really enjoying this shade. Okie dokie, so as you can see, there is bronzer on this side of my face and there's none on this side. So interestingly, again, the bronzer, as expected, is a sheer bronzer, but that is what I personally enjoy. It shouldn't be too deep, it shouldn't be too harsh, but it does feel very buildable. I would have personally preferred a more warm toned shade for my skin, because the grey tones sometimes do not flatter that much. Now next, we're going to be getting into the lip and cheek tints, which is all these four out here. And I want to start with something natural, so let's just check out this Spice shade here. And let's try it with our fingers now, because I do want that maximum color payout. And the moment I'm starting to apply it, as you can see, it's this beautiful warm shade of blush, and I'm absolutely loving it. Let's overdo it a bit, because why not, right? It's a blush. I'm definitely starting to love this shade. It's giving me this beautiful, nice, warm tone, and I love it. Now let's move on to the next shade, which we have here. It's the cooler tone of the same pigment, and it's called Cranberry. So let's just dip into that with my fingers again. Okay, so that's deep, right? And I want to go a little slowly with this because it is cool toned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a blender now, a little tiny blender, and start to blend that out. Oh, definitely. It looks really beautiful. Almost that wine shade that you all love, right? But I'm starting to notice that I like the spice a little bit more. So I'm gonna try and do a little bit of spice on top of cranberry and see how that looks. And I'm gonna try cranberry on my lips. And that's cranberry on my lips and spice on this side, and a little bit of mixing of spice and cranberry on this side of my face. I am definitely enjoying this palette up until now, but I really want to get a little bit crazy because we have these shades here, which is Tangerine on the bottom and Lilac on the top there. And I really want to try these shades out because they're from the Spring Duo collection, and just in the pan they look so nice to try out, so why not? Now let's just try out Lilac on my upper cheek because I think that would give out a nice plum shade. So I'm gonna clean up my lips real quick because I want to see how Lilac looks just on its own. And now I'm gonna apply Lilac. And that's Lilac on my upper lips. So if you can see any difference, it's giving out this beautiful glowy lip, and I'm definitely enjoying it. It's reducing the pigment on my lips, which is great because it can get a little dark, especially for my lips. But I'm gonna just quickly jump into Tangerine. And oh my god, these are so comfortable to wear, especially on your lips. And I think I'm enjoying the orange a bit too much, or Tangerine a bit too much. Very sumptuous. I mean, it's almost like this orange that I've eaten that I didn't eat. So out of this Lilac and Tangerine shade, I'm definitely drooling over Lilac for my cheeks and Tangerine, as you can see, for my lips. Now let me know in the comment section below if there's a specific shade that you liked a lot more. I am for sure more fascinated with my Lilac because I have this crazy love for rosy shades. Okay, wait, let's not just end this video right now. We also haven't tried out the last shade of these Cream Tint Pros, which is a highlighter, and it's called Warm Tan, and it's right here. Let's just see how this glides on my face, and I'm gonna do that on the tip here. I'm also adding it on the high points of my cheek just to see if there's an extra glow added. Now, even though I was worried in my swatches for the highlighter shade that it may not show up, or even if it shows up it may catch the texture of my skin, that didn't happen. It gives me this beautiful natural glow, and as you can see, as I move my face around, you can see it just catches the light very perfectly. I know I've been layering on cream, which can make the gloss or the tints to become very greasy, and the pigment can start to catch the skin texture, but that necessarily did not happen here, and I'm very glad about it. As of now, I'm not seeing any of that crazy greasy stuff happening on my face, and the Warm Tan actually has a very beautiful gold tint. So I'm a little apprehensive. If you are pale, it can be a little too deep for you, but for an olive skin tone, I'm happy that it's gonna be this perfect highlighter shade that you can use. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that was all for the roundup of my collection of Salt New York. In the blushes, unarguably, Spice is going to be my favorite for the cheeks, and Cranberry for the lips. For bronzer, the bronzer medium shade definitely showed very well on my skin, as you can see here, and it's going to be my new go-to bronzer, especially for cream. And last but not the least, the Bronze Light as a concealer or that spot foundation is definitely not too bad either, so I'm happy about it. The highlighter is great too, but it's definitely for somebody who wants a natural dewy skin finish, and the palette is definitely a good investment. So that's all for my review. If you like this video, don't forget to smash that big like button and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I will see you in my next video next week, but until then, you take care, love yourself, and stay beautiful. Bye.